the government and the news media. The government and the news media are separate and independent. The news media, also called the press, are protected by the Bill of Rights. Specifically, the First Amendment provides for freedom of the press, and Supreme Court cases have affirmed the rights of the news media. The mere existence of news outlets is not enough. A free press that is not subject to government intervention is essential in a democracy. The news media are protected against prior restraint, meaning the government cannot censor information before it is published, and the news media are protected from being punished by the government after a news story is published. In addition, the Privacy Protection Act of 1980 is a federal law preventing government officials from seizing source information from a journalist. And most states have shield laws that give journalists protection from their state government trying to force them to reveal their sources. Another important federal law is the Freedom of Information Act. This requires the government to release files to the public unless the files compromise national security. States have similar laws regarding state information. So in the US, the news media are protected from the government, and they are also independent of the government. Despite this separation, the government and the news media also rely on each other. Government officials need the media's help to gain attention and get their message out, while the news media need access to government officials to report news stories. Let's explore this relationship in more detail. Government officials can communicate with the news media by issuing a press release, which is like a formal announcement. A press conference is an event in which a government official makes a statement and answers questions from journalists. A news briefing is similar, but less formal, and is usually conducted by a spokesperson for a government official. Often, the spokesperson is a press secretary. Another important method of communication is an interview. An interview is when a journalist asks a government official questions. This is usually a planned arrangement, but an interview can also occur in a spontaneous manner. Finally, a leak can be an important method of transferring information. A leak refers to when a government official secretly passes on information to a news outlet. The leaker could have permission, meaning government officials want to share information but be able to deny doing so. Or the leaker may be acting alone to expose something other government officials are trying to hide. Despite the legal protections I mentioned earlier, the news media also face some legal limitations. They cannot publish false information that will harm the reputation of a person. This is called slander when the information is spoken, and libel when it is printed. Also, although news media outlets can publish any factual information they want, they are often mindful of national security concerns, so they may choose to discuss information with the government prior to making a final decision to publish it. Because the federal government owns the airwaves used by radio, television, and internet communications, the Federal Communications Commission regulates who receives a license to broadcast over the airwaves, and it is in charge of decisions related to content and ownership. Regarding content, the FCC can require stations to devote some time to covering public affairs, but it cannot censor information. The FCC can give fines or revoke broadcast licenses for the airing of obscene content. Additionally, although it doesn't do so now, previously the FCC upheld the Fairness Doctrine, meaning media broadcasters were required to cover a range of issues with a range of viewpoints. Regarding ownership, the FCC can limit the number of news outlets, like radio stations, television stations, and newspapers, controlled by one owner to prevent there from being only one source of news in an area. Currently, there is concern the FCC has not been effectively enforcing the principle of ownership diversification. Because democracy works best when citizens are well informed, having access to a range of issues and viewpoints is necessary. And guaranteeing that all citizens get information that is not censored by the government is also essential for a well-functioning democracy. Therefore, news media outlets that are separate and independent from the government play an important role in a democratic society.